In 2017, a woman with a graduate degree from Stanford sat in a room in upstate New York, while another woman burned a symbol into her skin with a cauterizing pen. She had consented. She believed it was an act of personal empowerment. The organization that brought her to that room had started, for her, with a professional development seminar recommended by a friend. A seminar about goal setting and overcoming personal limitations. It cost a few $100s and lasted a weekend. The seminar was run by NXIVM, an organization that would later be prosecuted as a criminal enterprise. Its leader, Keith Raniere, was sentenced to 120 years in prison for sex trafficking, racketeering, and forced labor. 16,000 people paid for NXIVM courses. Most of them never saw the branding room. Most of them would tell you it was just a self-improvement program. And for the first 3 steps, it was. We've looked at invasive species that took over ecosystems. Cults work the same way, except the ecosystem is your brain. This is a video about the actual mechanics of cult recruitment, not who joins. The answer to that is anyone. Not why people stay. That's a different question with a longer answer. This is about how. The specific sequence of steps that takes a person from, "This seems interesting," to, "I would die for this group." There are 7 steps. Each one looks normal. That's the entire point. Before the steps, a correction. The assumption most people carry is that cult victims are weak, gullible, lonely, uneducated, or some combination. The research says the opposite. Janja Lalich, a sociologist who spent 25 years studying cults, puts it directly. People who think they are too smart to join a cult are often the ones who get recruited because they don't have their guard up. NXIVM recruited actresses, heiresses, a former U.S. Surgeon General attendee, the daughter of a former Mexican president. These were not people looking for purpose in a strip mall. They were people who already had purpose and were looking for more. The profile of a typical cult recruit is not desperate loner. It is idealistic, ambitious person going through a transition, a move, a breakup, a career change, a death in the family. Any moment where ground shifts slightly under your feet and your brain is running a background process looking for stability. That's the window. And step 1 walks through it. Step 1, the approach. Someone is unusually warm to you, not aggressive, warm. They ask about your life with genuine seeming interest. They remember details. They follow up. In cult psychology, this phase is called quote 4, and the term makes it sound dramatic. It isn't. It feels like meeting someone who really gets you. Over 2/3 cult members are recruited by someone they already know, a friend, a coworker, a family member. The recruiter often doesn't know they're recruiting. They genuinely believe they're sharing something valuable. Step 1 doesn't feel like a red flag. Step 1 feels like luck. Step 2, the invitation. You're invited to something low stakes, a dinner, a weekend workshop, a volunteer project, a yoga class. The framing is casual, quote 5, quote 6. The key mechanic here is that the ask is small and the social proof is high. The person inviting you is someone you trust. The environment is welcoming, and the cost, in time, money, or emotional risk, is minimal. Cult expert Stephen Hassan, a former member of the Unification Church who spent 2.5 years inside before being deprogrammed, describes this as the setup for cognitive dissonance. Once you've attended, you've invested. Even a small investment creates a psychological pull to justify the decision. You came, therefore it must have been worth coming to. Step 2 is a door that only opens inward. Step 3, the welcome. You arrive and the people are genuinely nice, not performatively, or at least not detectably. They ask about you. They listen. They laugh at the right moments. They make you feel like you've been missing something and just found it. This is still love bombing, but now it's distributed. It's not one person being warm. It's a room, a system. The effect is multiplicative. One kind stranger is pleasant. 12 kind strangers start to feel like a community you didn't know existed. The crucial detail about Step 3 is that nothing has been asked of you yet. No doctrine, no fees, no commitments. You've simply attended a pleasant social event with interesting people. If you described it to a friend, they'd say it sounds nice. Step 3 is not a red flag. Step 3 is a pleasant evening with new friends. That's what makes it work. Step 4, the commitment test. Now, something small is asked: a donation, a signature, attendance at a follow-up event, a personal disclosure, sharing a fear, a failure, a vulnerability in a group setting designed to feel safe. The psychologist Robert Cialdini calls this the _quote_7__ technique. Once someone agrees to a small request, they are significantly more likely to agree to a larger one, because the brain works backward from behavior to belief. Quote 8, quote 9. The request at step 4 is always calibrated to feel voluntary. You can say no, nobody will pressure you, but the warm room from step 3 is watching, and the person who invited you is there, and saying no feels like rejecting the kindness you've already accepted. Most people say yes, not because they're weak, because they're polite. Step 5, the identity shift. This is where the terminology starts, a shared vocabulary, an internal framework for understanding the world that the group provides and outsiders don't have. In NXIVM, it was called quote 10. In Scientology, it's an entire dictionary. In smaller groups, it might be as subtle as a set of phrases that members use and outsiders don't recognize. The function is the same. Language creates belonging. If you speak the language, you're inside. If you don't, you're outside. At step 5, the group also begins to position itself as the answer to problems you didn't fully articulate before joining. Your anxiety, your ambition, your dissatisfaction. The group has a framework for all of it. And the framework works, at first, because any coherent system of meaning feels better than ambient uncertainty. You're not being controlled yet. You're being organized. Step 6, the isolation. This is gradual. The group doesn't say, stop seeing your family. The group says, your family doesn't understand your growth. It doesn't say, quote 13, it says, quote 14. The outside world isn't forbidden, it's reframed. Friends who express concern are, quote 15. Family members who ask questions are, quote 16. The information you consume narrows. The people you trust narrows. The BITE model, developed by Hassan based on research into Chinese communist brainwashing programs, identifies 4 axes of control: behavior, information, thought, and emotion. At step 6, at least 2 of those axes are active. Your behavior is shaped by group norms. Your information is filtered by group sources. Your outside relationships are reinterpreted through the group's lens. And you don't notice because the people inside the group are still the warmest, most supportive people you've ever met. Step 7, the new normal. You're in. The group's reality is your reality. The leader's words carry more weight than external evidence. Questioning the group feels like questioning yourself, because by now, the group is yourself, your social circle, your vocabulary, your schedule, your sense of purpose. Leaving would mean losing all of it simultaneously. Not just an organization, an identity, an entire operating system. The sunk cost is enormous, and it's not just financial, it's emotional, social, psychological. Every relationship, every shared experience, every confession you made in step 4 is now a thread that ties you to the structure. Cutting one thread is manageable. Cutting all of them at once is something most people cannot do without help. The exit window. Here's what the research shows. Between step 3 and step 4, the exit is easy. You just don't go back. It costs you nothing. You lose a pleasant evening. After step 4, the cost rises. After step 5, it rises steeply. After step 6, most people need external intervention to leave. A family member, a therapist, a former member who can translate the experience back into normal language. The window between __quote _17 and _quote _18 is shorter than most people believe. And it's not guarded by threats or locked doors. It's guarded by warmth. Here's the part nobody puts in the cult documentaries. Steps 1 through 3 happen to you every single week. A charismatic coworker invites you to a networking event. A friend brings you to a church service. Someone at a conference introduces you to a great group of people doing incredible work. A fitness community that starts with classes and ends with a lifestyle. A political movement that begins with a rally and ends with your entire social calendar. The mechanics are identical. The love bombing, the small commitment, the shared language, the reframing of outsiders. The vast majority of the time, it's harmless. Networking, community, friendship, religion, support groups. The sequence is the same because it's the sequence humans use to form all groups. Cults don't invent the process, they weaponize it. The terrifying part isn't that cults exist. The terrifying part is that step 1 through 3 happen to you every week, and most of the time it's just networking. The difference between a community and a cult isn't the first 3 steps, it's what happens at step 4. And by then, most people have already stopped asking. That's the end of month 1. We've covered your brain, your house, your planet, and your social circle. Next month, we're going deeper. Starting with the engineering failures that killed people because someone said, "It's probably fine."